the project. That's okay. So, so now next then, so one of the things then, so the purpose of this slide is there's a couple of purposes. For one thing, it's to show you, for example, this is the kind of information that's on their website, their project website. And in addition to that, to show you the project timeline. Unfortunately, actually Sarah and I were reviewing it earlier, and she noticed that the dates were not dates that I had given before. I also go out, I attend and I listen into the Metro meetings, their board meetings and their capital and strategic planning meetings. Out of that meeting, they have a meeting packet that gives information, including an updated project timeline and the high level tasks that are going to be done. I've been noticing for a few months now that date has been slipping. So the project has been slipping, but then I also found that the actual dates that they actually report to the board are not the dates that are on their website. So I was hoping I could tell you, the people, have a definitive source that you can go to get this information. I have emailed Metro, the project manager, and several people there multiple times to ask for a clarification on the dates in general, because this isn't the only ones that seem incorrect there. Unfortunately, I haven't heard anything back from them, but for example, the dates are wrong in the respect that, let's see, shall I tell you real quick? Because it's important for us to know what these dates are and to be able to have a source that we can rely on. So on their project site, it says that design is expected to be completed the end of 2024, but the date that they reported to the board is December of 2025. The construction is expected to begin according to their project update site. It's supposed to, so construction is supposed to begin the end of 2024, but the date that they are reporting to the board is February of 2026. The date that service is planned to start on their site is 2029, but what they're reporting to the board is March of 2030. So the dates on the site are significantly off, and I have asked for clarification there, but so far my request to Metro, that my request for clarification of any dates has gone unanswered. So, but I'll persist, and hopefully I can get some answers from them. So, but again, so the purpose of this slide, one of the purposes was to say to you, you can go out to this site and get the information yourself, but I see now that that's not the case. But I will continue to attend the meetings and to get the statuses through either online, and I always download the packet, which is very detailed. So continue to report back to you guys. So, but anyway, so to say the start of service is meant to be in 2030, and the end of construction is according to the board presentation, February of 2026. So we would have that to look forward to, that period of time of construction. So now we also provide project updates. We also get project updates from the Metro emails. If you get on the email list, one example is an email that went out on October 23rd that talked about the geological work on Lockwood Drive. So they had taken in the previous stage of the project, like a couple of years ago, I guess, a geological survey of the path. They're doing it again now because the plans are changing, and also, so that has been going on, and it started on the 23rd, I think, and then it was a couple of weeks. So I think that's passed, but this is the kind of information that you can get from the emailed updates. And then in addition to that, so we on the committee take the emailed updates and we sometimes summarize them, sometimes just copy paste them, because really that's a lot of times the best way to do it. And then we get the social media posts out there to you guys. Like, for example, you may have gotten posts on the Lockwood Drive trees survey starting on November 6th. So that's this week for several days, whatever that is. So this week at least, and maybe next, I don't know. Metro is sending teams out there to survey the trees that are on Lockwood and try to get a handle on what the size is and that sort of thing. So if you are interested in looking into with them, it's like maybe shadowing them or getting information from that team. If you have the luxury of being on the lookout for them, you may want to go on ahead and do that. So they've got teams out there that started today, right? Today's the 6th. Yeah, this started today. So that work's in progress. But so the slide is twofold. One thing to tell you that the survey is going on. Another thing is to tell you we're reaching out to you and trying to get this information into your hands quickly so that it'll be of use to you, and in case you want to be a part of the process. So, and then, okay, so now this one, this is, now this one came from the Metro board meeting when I at the Capital and Strategic Board meeting. The head engineer Shri Reddy gave an update. There's a plan that's been requested to change the design of the underpass so that rather than being the BRT pedestrian bike traffic that we had been dealing with, instead they are analyzing the possibility of doing an all traffic underpass. There are some constraints there. It has to be done within the 100-foot right of way, and it can't deviate in the width from their current plan. So they are analyzing that and expect to have their result of their analysis back by February 2024. And rather than my speaking it to you, what they were talking about, we thought it was a good idea to go on ahead and do I just press that?
No, I'm gonna change.
Okay,
slide.
we thought it was a good idea to go on ahead and get the.
Thank you, Joanna.
I'll have it full screen on another slide. I just want to add that we've cut 3 minutes out of a board meeting that we think everyone should be aware of this particular update, because it is kind of a reversal back from going through a small underpass to potentially a larger underpass that allows traffic through. And we don't know that this will happen yet, but we know Metro is investigating it. And so we think this is important information for the community to hear direct from Metro. This video is also on our social media and we've uploaded it on our YouTube page. But again, it's just an excerpt. I'm going to do my best because we had computer issues.
Thank you, Joanna. So I'll take this slide just to give an update to the committee about where we are with the underpass. If you recall, back in March and April, basically, we made a commitment to do a underpass only at that particular location near the Eastwood neighborhood. And it's a BRT only and a bike and ped underpass. That's in the NEPA documents, and that's how we're proceeding. But there have been a lot of stakeholders who've asked for an underpass that serves all modes, including the Eastman Management District, and several others have written to us specifically and asked if that's possible. Previously, we had basically looked at that and said there are significant hurdles. So what we're doing now is to basically look at, as a side project, the configuration that takes all modes, but there are obviously a lot of constraints. The first one is it needs to fit within the existing Lockwood right-of-way, which is about 100 foot. It resolves a drainage issue without a large detention pond in the vicinity, which was a previous problem that we explained and shared with the community. And it should not have any incremental NEPA impacts above and beyond what's in the documents now. And then if all of those requirements are met, then it would also obviously resolve a major community issue, which is block crossings. So if you recall, the current design basically leaves the general purpose at grade. So what the next steps are is basically our teams working closely with the city of Houston on technical concepts that require city concurrence, and this is not going to be possible without city making major concessions. They've come to the table with some ideas, and we're working through those. One of them is to basically possibly take all the drainage water and actually use a force main to go all the way up to the bayou. That's one of the items we discussed with them recently. We have to obviously do a lot of work to see if that's possible and acceptable. That basically avoids a detention pond in the vicinity and other impacts. The second one is to basically be able to stack utilities on either side if we can, to try to fit everything within the 100 foot right away. There's significant work to be done on this structure right at UP, about 100 feet on either side. So there are a number of different things we're trying to do on our end to try to basically get to a level of confidence where either it's not possible or is it possible by January, February timeframe. So if it is feasible at that point in time, with all the partners on board and with some written commitments, then we're going to basically approach the FTA and see if we can do evaluation of that particular configuration above and beyond what's in the documents. And what we want to do is to basically bring you along on a monthly basis to kind of report on where we are with that process and how things are shaping up. So there are two possibilities where either it's not feasible, then we stay with the current design and move forward. But if it's feasible, then we'll have to do an adjustment to the NEPA documentation, possibly. So that concludes my update on this specific topic. Back to you, Hannah.
Excuse me, Shri, on this, so the intent is to, if this works, is to stay within the 100-yard right of way, 100-yard right of way.
Yes,
and so we wouldn't need an enormous retention pond by using the force drain, and we wouldn't have to get any more property. Is that correct? We'd stay within our boundaries?
that is one of several things we need to do. Yes,
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
I think it's real telling to actually hear him saying this and hear the tone of his voice and
Thank you.
Continue, give me a
oh yeah,
minute.
no, yeah, I will. So I think it is real important to hear the tone of his voice too. And so that decision, as you said, the analysis of the thing will come back in February of next year. And at that point, then we'll know more about whether it's going to be the all underpass and what that means to our community as well. So again, yeah. They disclosed that it was the East End district. That's all they've disclosed publicly.
And the city of Houston has been asking about this.
And who do you?
Yeah, so I don't want to speak for the East End district, but they have explained their position kind of from the start that they're representing businesses. So their goal is to have traffic come through. As residents, we know that the trade-off of us being able to get around the train might come with a larger structure, and we live right in that vicinity. So we're a lot more sensitive to those pieces than the East End district is as a whole. They understand our concerns around that. What is different in this conversation is that it's limited to the 100-foot right of way, whereas before, when they proposed an all traffic underpass, it was much wider than that 100-foot right of way. That doesn't mean it's going to be feasible. That's basically what Metro is saying. I would say, from my best read of this politically, there's a little bit of back and forth between the city and Metro and East End district, all trying to get what they want out of this project. And we are on the sidelines. They know what the community was upset about, which was the taking of homes and the potential of a very large overpass structure, the loss of old growth trees, those pieces. The Metro board is very aware of that. The city is aware of that. East End district is aware of that. So now they're trying to maneuver to still get something that they want, would be my political read of it.
Do we have any feedback on, he did state East End district, and he stated that that they had to ask for major concessions from the city of Houston, but I never have seen or heard that the city of Houston has requested it. Do we have any information who within the city of Houston is asking for it?
So this would be in the Public Works Department be asking to see, because we know that when we did a FOIA, a year and a half ago, Clay, for which intersections, train intersections were a priority for the city to seek grade separation, Lockwood was 5th on that list for the whole city. So it's a priority intersection for the city because of the nature of the road to begin with. It's a priority for the Gulf Coast Rail District, for the East End District. So all of these things are coming together. The challenge is Union Pacific's line, right? And so that's the problem we're playing in. I don't have the answers to you. We are trying to give you that information as best we can for what we know, and I hope you appreciate that.
And as far as I know, we don't have any source in the city of Houston who's was in, but I'm sure city of Houston is concurrence. I'm just saying that the stuff that I try to present to you guys is never going to be hearsay or something that I can't cite a source from, which is why we have people good, which is why it's good that we have people who have connections or have that history. But and so that leads me into then the opinion poll. So it's good that you know then that now the underpass design is being reanalyzed, and we'll find out what that means for us on the other end of something. So the opinion poll, we have created we have started a new opinion poll, and that's been some time. You may have received it in various ways through door walking, through a next door update, social media posts, emails. But so back to just stating facts, that if the opinion poll starts with basic facts about the impacts that it will have on Eastwood. And I won't read them to you now, but just to say, if has anybody in this room not seen the opinion poll? Everybody has. Okay. So great. So then the opinion poll is now being distributed by mail to the houses between I-45 and Harrisburg and Eastwood, Dumble. Some of it got cut out, of this. That's I think so. So it's being delivered by mail. Let me see if I have it on the next slide instead. Yeah. So it's being delivered by mail to the addresses between I-45 and Harrisburg, and between Eastwood and Dumble. And of those houses, we're sending a letter in an envelope with the self-addressed stamped envelope to the houses that are 1, 2, 3 off Lockwood. So the ones that would be directly adjacent, and 2, 3 in from the BRT line, and then also the underpass, because we want to make sure that we are notifying those people that they are aware, because we still see high numbers of people who aren't even aware of it yet. To the houses that are within the greater boundaries that you see here, we're sending a postcard to those houses with the QR code. Both these things are in English and Spanish, so that we make sure that we get the highest level of coverage that we know how to do. So we're making the opinion poll known that way. We're walking it door to door with the paper opinion poll and the QR code with that takes you to the online poll, and we're talking about it and giving it out at events like the National Night Out and this membership meeting. And again, it's in English and Spanish. So, and now the trees design. Danielle is the head of that committee.
Tina asked me just to speak to this piece here. So back in September, which is the last time we were in front of you, it was just before Metro hosted 2 design charrettes. How many of you were able to attend those charrettes? A good number of you were there in person. Those design charrettes provided an opportunity to provide input on design. As a part of our back and forth with Metro, we've been advocating for them to create we've kind of called a design advisory committee. Our latest official communication from Metro is that they will take us up on that and create a design advisory committee for this segment that there would be opportunity for the members of public to sit on. So we'll keep you informed as we learn about that so that you can get involved with that. Metro has agreed in writing to do that at this point. For this committee, our focus right now is on the development of an idea book for different design elements, from material selection for transit stations, for any material around the overpass, lighting, green space design, any pieces like that. So if you think of the whole breadth of the design that comes through here, everything you could think about there, we're trying to put into an idea book to help members of this design advisory committee get off the ground running with some great ideas about what could be done to potentially incorporate Eastwood's character into the design. It's very unlikely, I would say, that we'll submit a proposal with specific recommendations. For example, the tile on the station should be the blue tile project tile. But it's likely that we would submit an idea book that would encompass this and give jumping off points of ideas that we think match with the character of Eastwood. So things like how can we incorporate the craftsman design into station design. Tina talked about the Metro tree study underway. This tree study was an inventory was also a request of the Civic Association in communication with Metro. So again, a piece that they have gotten back to us and said, yes, we're going to do that, to categorize the trees that may be lost, could be harmed in construction. At the same time, our committee here, or our working group here, is also looking to identify ways to protect street trees, so trees that are on people's property, not in the city right of way, by registering them as historic trees. For example, there is Lady Lorraine at Park and Lockwood, that it's probably one of the biggest trees you see as you go down there. She's named Lady Lorraine, and she actually has a register in the Texas Historic Registry of Trees. So there's opportunities to do that with other trees in the neighborhood, and we want to do that in conjunction with property owners who have those trees on their property. So that is one of the next steps of that committee, or that working group there.
Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's it. And so, but mostly this is all about, well, it's about two things: letting you know what's going on and hearing from you. What do we need to do differently? What do you want done? How can you be involved? Can you help to get out the word by walking door to door? You know, anything that you can do to help out. Whatever your feelings, and I just want to say from my standpoint, I will never take somebody's feedback that they give and it's something that I don't like, you know, and like be mad or like publicize it or do anything like that. But it's so important that we know what you think, and it is truly important that we know who you are. In other words, like where you live or something like that, so that I can come around to your house. And no, not like that, but so that we can know who we are reaching, you know, because there are some people who will be more deeply affected by this. And I want to make sure that at least we have informed them, you know, and that they have the opportunity to speak their mind if they choose to, but at least they know. So we have the email address, and the one that I gave you before was just like a stopgap one that we put together real quick. But this one is the ongoing one. It's for Google Groups. It's ECA Metro BRT at googlegroups.com. And this QR takes you there. But we really do need your input. And I thank you. Danielle, thank you so much.
Yeah, just stay for a second.
Yeah.
Are there questions about the project? Now, again, we aren't Metro, we're providing secondhand information, but are there questions about the project or the ECA's work on this that we could answer for you?
Real briefly, the design book that you were talking about, that's supposed to be for the Eastwood section, but it's for the whole, in fact, all of section 4, which goes all the way to the body, right?
So we've talked about this in the committee, and I'm not sure how to handle it. The part that we are making recommendations are from Eastwood Transit Center to the Harrisburg station, although the Harrisburg station is just on the border of our community and it needs to be done in conjunction with Second Ward. I think if we made some suggestions around that, you know, it's up to Metro to decide what other stakeholders need to be involved there.
And we are trying to reach out to other communities as well, even though I know I've gotten contacts at some of the neighborhoods up north of us, and it's just that we don't hear much back. But we are doing our best to get them and to make sure they're aware as well.
Did that answer your question, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Is there anything we can do with the Eastern District to make sure that they prioritize residents over stakeholders? Because if we think back to the original proposal, they wanted a 5-lane wide.
Yeah.
So it seems like their motivations are not aligned.
I will say that frankly, when the East End District came out against the overpass, I was shocked. The East End District is a wonderful ally for the community on a lot of things where our interests align. This is one that it's likely our interests probably will continue to divert. I would say the best thing that you can do is reach out to the East End District and express that. but their stakeholders are primarily residents, are primarily businesses, but several of their board members are residents of the East End, some of them residents of Greater Eastwood. So I think just reach out, express your concern, continue to see them as a political entity in the community that we often forget. They have a lot of power here, and they are pushing for something that looks a little different. I am still very curious to see what that actually looks like, because there are trade-offs. If all traffic can go under, I can get around the train in my car now too. But as someone who lives on Walker Street, a block from the project, I can understand kind of the trade-offs there as well. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Tina.
You're welcome. Thank you, Danielle.
I'm gonna skip back to a little earlier in our presentation here.
Danielle,
Yes.
can you hear me? I'm sorry. Hi, this is Renee, using Corbin's computer, and I do have a question. I had noticed recently that on the community impact site that they had actually showed the station as being Leland instead of Polk. And that was published as of October 11th, 2023. Do you know if that has changed?
Where did you see that, Renee?
Off of community impact, the CI site?
Community, okay, do you know that site?
I'm not sure. I know the particular site or the document being referenced, but there definitely has been back and forth about where the station should be, if it should be at Leland or if it should be at Polk. So where it is, Renee, right now, I think is still very much in the flux and in design.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Renee, would you maybe contact me at some point to help me see that? Because I'm not.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I
thanks.
appreciate that.
Sure.
Anything else from the online folks? I didn't see anything typed, so I am gonna move us on. Thanks so much, Tina. I'm gonna move us back to elected officials and candidates, because I see Senator Alvarado in the crowd, and I'll ask if she'd like to come up for her 2 minutes to give an update to the community. It's really nice to see you back in Houston.
Be back. Hi, everybody.
We generally give 2 minutes.
Okay,
for
2 minutes. It'll be
elected
like,
officials, but
okay.
Well, tell us what you need to tell us before
Yeah, and
elections.
we'll schedule another time. We've been gone so long. It's been a very long session and sessions, because we're still in a special, which ends tomorrow, and then I'm told the governor's gonna call us right back Wednesday. So we've been in special sessions mainly because of the voucher bill that they're trying to pass. I have not been voting for it. It's been a strange coalition of Democrats and rural Republicans that have kept it from passing. What they have proposed with the Senate bill was taking $8,000, it's public money, taking public money and giving it for private schools and even homeschooling as well. So, it hasn't been passed in all the specials that have occurred, and the governor is looking to keep on that until something happens. I just don't see it happening at all. But that's where we are. We have propositions on the ballot tomorrow. If you haven't been to vote, I want to tell you about some ones that are very important. And I know we were a last minute add on, and that's because we don't know. Our schedule has been very unpredictable. So when there's more time, we'll come back and give them more in depth. But I wanted to remind everybody to go vote tomorrow if you haven't already. I know we have a lot of U of A going on in here, but there's the Proposition 5, which renames the Texas University Fund. You may recall that there was the PUF, Permanent University Fund, which has given money to only 2 universities, University of Texas and Texas A&M. Fine institutions, but we do have some others that do qualify to get. So if this passes, it will bring in University of Houston, Texas Tech, University of North Texas, and Texas State. So this is about a $3.9 billion endowment that's fueled from many sources, but it will now give us 6 universities that can get some of this research money. States like New York, California, they have 9 universities that are able to tap into that money for research. So this will hopefully allow us to recruit more faculty and recruit students and others. The other proposition is the Prop 4, which is the property tax relief. So we went into discussion with a $32 billion surplus, the largest surplus our state has ever had. We took half of that money, 18 billion, and put it into property tax relief. So we are raising the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. And if you are over 65 or disabled, add another 10,000 to that. So it's probably the largest tax relief we've ever seen. It could be the biggest one we see for a long, long time. And I see one of our school board members here, our schools will not lose out money. There's a hold harmless clause in the bill that we passed. So whatever that money that is that we're losing from the reduction of the property tax, the state is going to make up the difference. So our schools will not be strapped. Will not have these challenges. So, yeah, I know somebody asked me about that earlier. Said, "Oh, that's a great property tax relief, but our schools need to suffer." No, they're not. So those are 2 big ones, and then there's Proposition 8, which creates the broadband infrastructure fund, and that is to continue to bridge the digital divide in a lot of parts of our state that do not have access to broadband. And the Prop 9, let's see, do you have any retired teachers in there? Of course. That one is giving a cost of living adjustment to our retired teachers who haven't received one in 20 years. It's about it's a little over a $3 billion investment that is already fully funded. And we know that we've also got a 13th check this last year. We've been able to do that a couple of times. So trying to make sure we take care of our retired teachers. When we go back, hopefully we can also pass the bill that will give our teachers a pay increase and then also raise the basic allotment. A lot of moving parts. The Senate is doing it in different bills. There's a voucher bill, and then there's the bill that raises the allotment for our schools or for people, and also the teacher pay increase. In the House, they wanted to do a big omnibus bill to make it more appealing for people to vote for vouchers. But a lot of our teacher groups have said, we don't care, we don't want vouchers, even if a pay increase is attached to them. So that's what we're dealing with right now. I'll have more to report hopefully at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick question, Prop 5, the university funding. What was the qualifications for the schools that were added? I was talking to somebody the other day, like why wasn't TSU included? Like why was it limited to the amount of?
It's a little complicated, but they have to reach certain goals in research level. University's done that, we're tier 1 now. So that's why there's a set of requirements that you have to achieve, and hopefully some of those universities can get in there later.
So if they reach those qualifications, would
They
they
could
have
be.
a chance?
We have to
again?
have another bill and then a constitutional amendment. Yes, sir.
Maybe I could clarify something. I have heard that public school students who spend less than $6,000 a year, and they want to give $8,000 or $10,000 in vouchers. The private school, homeschool.
That's what I was talking about, is the bill that the Senate passed is $8,000 for private schools. I don't know many private schools that you can get into for a year for $8,000. That the cost for transportation, books, that has to be picked up by somebody, right? The families. And we still rank towards the bottom in funding per pupil in the country. And research has shown that in the other states that have vouchers, Because usually what they do is they start out with a small amount. We have about 5.5 million students in public education. And the bill that the Senate passed was gonna be eligible for about, I think, 60,000 students or something. But they usually start off like that with a small amount. And then what we've seen in other states is over time, the money for vouchers for kids to go to private school or homeschool, that increases, and what they're putting in public education starts to decrease. So you are chipping away at our public education system over time. Yeah, I know.
Other questions for the Senator? Thank you for joining us. Do we have any other elected officials, community organizations, or candidates? Judith, I saw your hand up. Can I just see how many more there might be? Is there anyone else? Awesome. Judith, come on up. Just stand near the computer so the folks can hear you online.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I've given an update. So there are currently Houston ISD trustee elections, only in 2 of the 4 districts that are up for election. So the seat I currently hold, District 8, would normally be up for election tomorrow. But I decided not to run, and only 1 person filed. And so because they're unopposed, there's some kind of state statute that they don't actually appear on the ballot, they just automatically win. So if you were confused, if you've already gone to vote and you're wondering why you didn't see an HISD trustee election, that is the reason. So the person that will automatically be the trustee, his name is Placido Gomez, and he'll take office. I'm not sure what all that looks like, if there's an official swearing in because of the state of things in HISD right now. But if that's the case, it would be sometime in January, is my assumption. So my term ends at the end of this calendar year. So there will be 3 other new trustees of the 9 elected. And because the way the intervention takeover happens is the takeover was swift. There were 9 appointed members placed into the board, and then the 9 elected of us were sidelined. But the elected board will roll back on gradually. TA has announced that will be 2 to 6 years. I'm guessing it'll be more on the latter, based on, just how these things take a long time, unfortunately. And so the elected board still has to be in their seats, even though there's not much of a role. TA said that they wanted us to be in an advisory capacity. There hasn't been like an official, this is what you do as an advisor. So I've been pretty present at the meetings and trying to develop relationships and stay in the know as much as possible and feel like I'm still representing the community as much as I can. And I'll still continue to be involved because I'm an HISD parent, and I care passionately about our public education in our schools and making sure that our students are able to get the resources they need. As Senator Alvarado mentioned, how desperately we need that funding. But even if we were to remain at the same levels of funding that we currently have, we need to make sure that we're making those dollars work as well as possible for our students. So there are a lot of good things happening in the district. There's a lot of also challenging times. So I encourage you, if you're able to volunteer at your local elementary or any of the other schools in this area, being able to go read or just even be able to donate makes a huge difference for a lot of the PTOs and things that are really trying to bring some support to the schools. So thank you all.
Perfect. Anyone else in the room, candidate, elected official, community organization? I have one. Oh, come on up. And mailing, I see you. We'll do an update from the tax office as well after.
Hi, it's great to see y'all. My name is Mike Moreno from Councilmember Robert Gagos' office. He couldn't be here, but he wanted me to come and let y'all know that it's been a privilege and an honor for him to represent District I. He really appreciates all of y'all, your help and your interest and participation in making Eastwood a better area, District I a better area. The council member started his his election, his decision to run for city council, just in the same situation where y'all are in, when Metro was trying to build the overpass on Harrisburg. So that's what gave him the impetus to say, you know what, we need somebody in there that's going to take care of our neighborhoods. So I want to applaud y'all for being here and taking care of your neighborhood, just like he did. And I want to say that he's still in office for a couple more months, and we're still monitoring Metro for what's going on here in Eastwood. And it's very important that we do that. It's very important that y'all keep holding Metro accountable and the city accountable and Union Pacific accountable, because this is your neighborhood, this is our neighborhood. And we want to make sure that they take care of our neighborhoods. So thank y'all for being here. And if y'all have any other questions, I'll be in the back. The council member is, I know he may be campaigning, but our office is still working to make sure that Eastwood is taken care of. Thank y'all for being here.
Okay, and we also have mailing from the tax office, who's going to give another a recap of what's on your ballot tomorrow for Prop 4, I believe, which is the tax.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm hoping everybody have already taken advantage of the early voting. If you haven't done so, tomorrow is the last day, actually the only day, election day, November 7th, 7 to 7. You can go to any polling location that's convenient for you. You can go to harrisvotes.com to check which one is convenient for you. And also on there, there's also the waiting time. So you can check it a little bit to see if it's a long line, or maybe you can switch to some polling locations that might have less people. So regarding property tax, I'm going just to recap what has been on the Proposition 4 regarding the property tax. So basically, there are 5 major point. The first one are more than 12 billion to reduce the school property tax rates for all the homeowners and the business properties. The second, of course, is everybody is, if you are a homeowner, you would like to the homestead exemption to increase up to $100,000. At this point, it's 40,000. So this is a big increase and waiting for voters' approval. The third one will be the non-homestead properties. Earlier, we were talking about that homestead exemption. Now there are 3 years pilot program for non-homestead properties, and it's on a value under 5 million. They will have appraisal cap at 20%. However, this is just a pilot program for 3 years. The first one will be the savings on the franchise tax for the small business. And the fifth one, you will added some new elected positions to the local appraisal board. So for Harris County, it will be for the HCAT. And that's for all the summary of the Proposition 4, and happy voting. Hope everybody will just finish their obligation, and we will see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to move us forward in our agenda and get you out of here so you can come back to this building.
Thank you.
If you have not already voted, to vote tomorrow, okay? Like 12 hours from now, you can come here and vote. We have a full, so 2 things I have to talk through is board elections and bylaw changes. I'm going to start with board elections. So our entire board slate is back up for re-election. I have heard from existing board members who would like to run again or stay in their position. I also would like to open the floor for nominations, and there's a tiny form you can fill out to express interest. But I'm going to start with our officer positions to understand if there's more interest than there is now. The nomination I have right now for president is Lindsay. Are there any other folks in the room that would be interested in running for president? Otherwise, Lindsay will be the candidate on the slate in December. Excellent. For vice president, Clay was kind enough to step up for Nathan, and he said he would be willing to continue on with that position. Are there any other candidates interested for vice president of the Civic Association for the next year? Okay. Everett has identified that he was interested in running for secretary. Kyle has done a phenomenal job over the past 2 years to advance us so far and is rightfully wanting to take a step back from that role. And Everett has kindly said that he would like to continue that work and move us forward, and also really appreciate that. So but anyway, Everett has expressed interest from the existing board. Are there any other members who might be interested in playing the role as secretary? Okay. Paulette saying, no, I've done this before, never again. And then for treasurer, Pulani said that and our bylaws do allow her to do another term. So that would be the only, I'm going to mess it up, officer that would stay for a second term in a row in this slate. Pulani said she would run again. Is there anyone else who would be interested in providing their skills as treasurer to our board? Okay, seeing none. So that is the slate that you'll see in December for our officer positions. Now I'd like to identify if there's anyone interested in being a general director position. So that's not a named position. There are 5 of those available. 6 of those available. Thank you, Kyle. I have that somewhere. Oh, it's in the form. I know that Tina, Corbin, Kyle, and Aaron have expressed interest in running again. Those still stand. Is there anyone else in the community who'd be interested? Matthew? Excellent. Catherine? Thank you. Cameron, I saw that you filed on the form. Are you still interested? Only if there's. Okay. We don't want to do an election, is what you're telling me. Is there any other interested community members in the room today, or that you know of that aren't in the room today who might be interested in sitting on our board?
Can I nominate I'd like to nominate Sarah Davis.
Sarah, would you be interested in participating on our board? Okay, excellent. I would like to. Our goal is to extend and get new folks in here. This is not about keeping.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we should.
So what it sounds like, which is phenomenal, is that we'll have an election in December for these director positions where we'll ask the community to select from this group of candidates. I will leave nominations open for the next week to 2 weeks. I think that's reasonable to prepare. And if there's more candidates in the community that you know of, please have them reach out and throw their name in the hat. And then we would do an election for those positions. I am very grateful to have had this position of president. I, like Kyle, am ready to have more people run with all of this amazing work that we've had on our plate. And I encourage everyone to get involved at an increased level, whether that's a board level or take a role on a committee in the new year. So really appreciate that. So I see no more nominations, no nominations from the floor.
Can you run through the list again?
Yeah.
Somebody in there.
Yeah. Aaron, Tina, Corbin, Kyle.
Kyle, our secretary?
Yeah, Kyle just as a
Okay,
general.
I didn't remember that.
He would still like to be on the board, just doesn't want to be secretary anymore. Sarah, Matthew, Cameron, Catherine, Thomas. So, and Cameron, we can talk like, no, you don't want to run for an election.
There's enough.
Perfect.
Matthew?
That'd be Matthew. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Leslie's out of the boundaries now, so she needs to be replaced. Which I will confirm that he is interested in the position. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So with that, when you come back on December 4th, be prepared for an election and also be prepared for maybe a cookie exchange, so that we can make the election a little more fun. Okay, there is a document of bylaw changes. It sounds really scary. There's only maybe 3 that I think are material changes. A lot of them are Kyle and I correcting clarity and wording. And I'm going to go through everything, but highlight those pieces that are that are more material. So the first is we updated language around our boundary for clarity and to include this map so that maybe that will finally get rid of any confusion of what the boundaries it does. This change does not actually modify our boundaries. It just gives a better sense of what they are with the definitive map and an increased and a better description of those pieces, which you would have seen in the email and will be posted. Then in section 5 under powers, we've reworded for clarity. I'm sorry, I had them up earlier. Reworded for clarity that we do not aspire to be an HOA is basically what we've reworded. That has always been the case since the beginning of the inception of the ECA. We just want to make that abundantly clear. There's no change in practice there. In section 6, under board of directors, the number of officers and the number of directors were identified backwards. So I believe it said that there were 4 directors and 7 officers. Yep, and we flipped that back to the way it's supposed to be. It's 4 officers, 7 directors. I just did it backwards again. It is correct now. Kyle's checked it, Aaron's checked it. That's the challenge there. Yes, I will go to the document as well, but it's easier for me to go through these here. Under the section for treasurer, we reworded for clarity around that where the funds are held. There was a word same, which we weren't sure if it had to be in a single bank account or multiple bank accounts. There was confusion there. So the word same, which made no sense in the sentence, has been pulled out. In terms of nomination, we've reworded for clarity and spelling. There's no change in practice there. So I'll go through that one. This is actually a change. Our current bylaws only allow us to do a voice vote, which means actually when we held the election to fill the vacant seat 3 months ago, we didn't do a voice vote because we had 3 candidates and we didn't know how to do a voice vote like that. So we did a ballot vote. We've proposed changing these bylaws to allow some flexibility of how we vote to reflect that we're now seeing more candidates for this position. And we would like there to be an opportunity to use a ballot rather than a voice vote when it's not a 1 versus 1 candidate piece. We also removed reference to an election committee, which was referenced nowhere else in our bylaws, so that nominees are just proposed by the general membership, and that reflects the approach that we have taken historically. So to me, these are changes that allow us to continue to operate in the way we have and also to continue and operate in a reasonable way as we continue to grow and see more interest there. But this is a material change to the bylaws. The most material change to the bylaws is under membership vote. So we have adjusted this language so that membership is not limited to 1 vote per household. Instead, it is 1 vote per member. And a member is a resident, a business, or a property owner within our boundaries who's up to date on dues. This is complex right now because we have had no dues for 4-ish years now. Sorry, Paulette.
I'm sorry, but going back to the election.
Yeah.
Is there a way, we're going to be out of the country. Is there a way we can vote virtually?
Right now, there's nothing in the bylaw that there is a way that you could vote virtually if you attended the meeting virtually, like on Zoom. We allowed for folks to share their address and their email, confirm their membership, so they were from there in the boundaries, and then they could vote there, but not like an absentee ballot. We don't have a procedure for that at this time. It's not explicit in the bylaw, except that it says that the election happens in the meeting. So I don't know, Paulette. Hey, I attended last December's meeting from Paris when Kyle ran it. So it was like 3:30 in the morning. No, but to Paulette, to your point, I think to me, the way that I read the bylaws is that the board will discuss elections in our December board meeting. And if they can come up with a procedure that we can reasonably implement and repeat again and again, I think that that's reasonable. So to me, and membership, tell me if you think I'm out to lunch here, the board should be able to have some flexibility on designing a way that a ballot happens, which is the language we're adding here, so that we can accommodate things like absentee ballots while still making sure that it's members who are voting. So that would be my hope, is that's a discussion at the board level in December's meeting.
November.
No, November's meeting, correct, you're right, the next week's meeting.
It's unsweet.
It is,
Oh, gee.
right? It's the 17th or 16th because of Thanksgiving. Michael.
Just to add a little emphasis to that. We've got neighbors who would work schedule, don't allow them to be at some of the meetings. If you take a vacation at the wrong time in this meeting, and I'd really like to encourage the board to come up with something that allows for a type of absentee voting.
Can I ask for maybe a straw poll here? If you would be in favor of us looking for a way for you to vote absentee, can you raise your hand? Is there any opposition to that? Put your hands down. I'm seeing none. To me, that's really good direction to the board to find it. Is there a feeling in the room that that needs to be laid out in our bylaws, or do we feel that that can be adjusted by the
The
board?
only question would be, we're gonna have to close nominations before the meeting.
Yes,
is fine,
which,
but
and except for a by-election, we are allowed to do that. The by-election, we were not.
I didn't-
Yep, I've learned that now. So I think there's a level of comfort in the room, at least, that the board can kind of make a proposal, and maybe the next, I think every other year we've been proposing bylaw changes as we make standing rules. We can make that a standing rule for how to do an election, like the detailed election procedure, and an absentee ballot. I am trying to balance like what is reasonable for a volunteer organization to do in a secure election, with a wide base of membership, which we have currently, which will change once dues are implemented again, versus what actually getting folks the chance to have their say and vote. So I see the trade-off there, but I see the value, and I thank the membership for expressing it. Kulani had her hit up first, and then I'll go to you, Tina.
Only because, and I guess I'm going to be in Hawaii that day that we're doing it, but I can chime in.
Yeah.
But if I'm on the nomination thing too, so.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to figure that out.
So I think it sounds like the board's gonna have a discussion on the November meeting, and we're gonna find a way to have absentee ballots for December. That's what I'm hearing. So that's my commitment to the room. I see no opposition to that. So that's my commitment to the room. Tina.
I would like to suggest that if we can wrap this up in the absentee voting procedures too, I think. That the way that we did the voting before, with the blank ballot.
Yeah, I think we've had that discussion at board level. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I think we started that discussion at the board level. We ran out of time.
Yeah,
So
so I'm, and just, since we're discussing it here, I just want to bring up that it makes sense to me that we might have a vote ballot that somehow or another identifies an address or a person or whatever, so that and I think that if we're doing an absentee ballot, we might be able to have some other kind of identification. What that means, I don't know, but I would like to suggest do consider that.
So I think all of these pieces move to discussion at the board level in our November meeting, which is about a week away, 10 days away. On those pieces. So I appreciate that. This, I'm going forward again. I started this. This is probably the most material change to the membership, that we adjusted that membership isn't limited to 1 vote per household and instead 1 vote per member. The discussion at the board level about this. What this means in practice is if there is more than 1 person in your household and you don't agree, you each get a vote. A member is a resident, a business, or a property owner who is up to date on dues. Because we haven't charged dues in a long time, that really means anyone who's come to our meeting the day that we're having a vote. I suspect, and I can't speak for them, but I suspect that the next board will re-implement dues because the Civic Association continues to grow. And I think that we've reflected value back to the community over the past year, 2 years, 3 years. And I think people are prepared at this point to pay dues into it. I can't speak for them. I suspect that's what they would do. That makes it a lot different to manage membership and voting than it does right now, where I have to let everyone vote, even if as long as you just show up at the meeting. So this material change allows, if there are 2 members in that household who pay dues, they would both be able to vote. The reason we proposed this change, it used to say per property. sorry, it used to say per household. The challenge was, how do we decide who in that household gets to vote? We felt that there was no way for us to enforce that. We could look down a list as people sign in with their addresses and say, okay, this property pays dues, but they have 2 people signing in. What do we do about their ballot? That to us just added complexity that didn't make sense at a civic association level. I will also say we were not unanimous in this piece. So there was an individual who felt that we should not make this change. So really keen to hear back from the community. If this is a change you don't want to see, let us know. Our challenge again is just with how do we make it work? Go ahead, Mark.
So does that mean both people in that household would pay?
It would. Yeah. So if you just want 1 vote for your household, you just pay your $20 once. If you want 2 votes in your household, you pay your $20 twice. It's uncomfortable, I think, both ways on how to do it. So this is a challenging one. Any other comments about that?
What's the amount of
The previous dues were set between $20 and $25 for a year, for the year. Yeah. And they're optional fees. It's not like an HOA fee that you have to pay. They are optional, but if you want to vote, you would have to pay dues. Could still participate in our events without paying dues. Term limits have just been adjusted for clarity to match. There's no change in practice there. Past president, which is the role that I will sit in next year, when the board was grown from 9 to 11 several years ago, we didn't change the numbering of this position so that it used to be the 9th position and now it's the 11th position. We've updated the language there. General membership meetings, the time used to say that we would meet at 7:30, we meet at 6:30. We had a poll of the community that was what made sense. So we are updating that to reflect what we actually do. Some spelling adjustments in committees and accounting. Amendments was spelt wrong. That's a change. And then the last piece is on disclosure, which is a piece we've added to ensure that there's a conflict of interest disclosure procedure for board members, which we had not previously had and felt strongly, especially after the last year of advocacy around Metro and BRT, it was important that we had a procedure laid out in the bylaws for conflict of interest disclosure. So going back to me, the most material things are the addition of disclosure, the time change to the general membership meetings, which is just reflecting what we've been doing, the membership vote, so changing from household to person or to per member, the flexibility in election procedure to do something other than a voice vote are the material changes that are here. These changes were in the email. You can see them in a file. You can read all of the language. We have to have a vote in the December meeting that requires a 2/3 majority to pass. So please take time to ask questions about these of your board, to look at the actual language, send us an email if you have any concerns, and then there'll be an opportunity for questions and we'll vote in the December meeting to pass the changes in the bylaws, but our bylaws require that I share them with you in advance of that, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So any final questions on bylaws?
Are these located on the website?
The current bylaws are, the new amendment, the draft amendments are not.
They are not on the website, they are on the Google Drive.
Yeah, in the email that went out today, they were linked, but I will endeavor to get them up on the website with the amended changes within the next couple of days. So thanks. Anything else? Okay, with that, election day is tomorrow. Has anyone not voted yet? Okay, you can come back here and vote. There are 14 state propositions, 1 Harris County proposition, 2 City of Houston propositions. You get to vote for most of you District I, very few of you District H council members, and your 5 at-large positions. School trustee is not, as Judith said, there's no one on the ballot for school trustee this time. So that's what you're going to see on your ballot. Please, please, please read up on those things. There's lots of education material out there. Vote 411, the League of Women Voters always puts a really phenomenal one out there to learn about those propositions. I would plug Houston Landing's description of what the propositions are. They don't tell you how to vote like editorial board at the Chronicle does, but they do lay out what they mean in layman's terms. So take some time, get educated, print off a sample ballot and go in and vote all the way down the ballot. If there's no questions, I'll see you at our last meeting of the year on December 4th. And with that, I'm going to bring Kulani up to talk about something that you can help with in advance of that meeting for the community. And then we'll be done.
And y'all, can I do the meeting minutes after that?
Oh, shoot, yes. Yeah,
Did you want me to do the treasurer?
yeah, we'll do that too. Kyle, are you good to do meeting minutes now?
Yeah, I can do it right now. September 11th, we had a meeting because, the first Monday of September was Labor Day. We had elected officials, we had Ronald Moreno from Harris Health, give a presentation about the Harris County crop, basically. Then we had committee updates, including Metro BRT, home tour, Brain Committee. I mentioned something about communications. We talked about the upcoming events, closing out past events, including National Night Out. We had a board news. They sent a letter of support for the Livable Places initiative, which ended up passing, right?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and then we had another item which I mentioned our next meeting, which is this meeting. That is it.
So Kyle motions to approve the minutes. And second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion passes. And treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report, as of today, we have $31,651 in our account, and that's after expenses from our home tour. We'll get to recap on our home tour probably the next meeting, but thank you everyone on the home tour and the support there.
On that, I'm just gonna make a note that is before the donations have come out of those totals.
Correct.
Okay, so the board voted to do 25% of our net revenue to go to 2 charities. So we will be doing a check presentation in December to Barrio Dogs and the East End Scholarship Funds for, I believe, $1,500 each. So come out and celebrate that check presentation and giving back to the broader community through home tour. So just those funds are going to go down for that reason.
And then, so lastly, thank you very much again. It's the holiday season that's upon us, and I take care of the angel tree. Not sure if many of you know what the angel tree is. Angel tree is the children. So I've adopted about 70 children in our East End area, specifically 77023. The parents are incarcerated. One or both of the parents are incarcerated, so the caretakers, the grandparents or whoever else lives here in our East End area. So I've adopted 70 children, and then I normally hold a party, an angel tree party that I invite everybody and anybody to come on out so you can see what your gifts go to. Well, anyway, I have 10 children left, so out of 70, I did pretty good, and so now I have 10 children left, and they all range, and so I have girls and boys, and I've got ages 7 through 15 or something like that. But there's specific information in here in the packets that have what the child, so there's 2 gifts basically that are given to each child. One is a clothing item and one is an age appropriate. The caretaker has suggested either if they're into Spider-Man or the Marvel or princesses or things of that nature. I have a date in here where I have the due date is due back to me before December 3rd. My church, which is off of used to be on Broadway, but now we're off of 225 in Allen, Genoa. But because I live here, we can make arrangements. My telephone number is in the packets. If anybody's interested, please see me outside. I would love you to kind of adopt the children that I have left. Anybody have any questions? But come and see me outside. Thank you.
Thanks, Kalani. I got to do that last year. It was really fun to buy for kids because I don't have children of my own. And it's fun to shop for kids at Christmas. So with that, our last and final meeting of the year will be on the 4th of December. Look for a notice to maybe bring some cookies. We'll do cookie exchange. We will hold an election. We will go over these boring bylaws and vote on them. And I expect we'll have a speaker there that we've not confirmed yet. So hope to see you out in December. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.